Chris, make it forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please return to your places. We had a short delay. Now we are back online and back on streaming. So we are really happy to greet next panelists and to start the next discussion panel. This discussion panel is devoted to the topic of alternative career paths. So how many different options life gives us and how many different choices can we make to still achieve a great success on so many different fields. In this discussion panel, we are honored to welcome Mr. Jad Ardakani, who is a medical student and also a host of the Unjaded podcast, which is very popular, has more than 300,000 observers on social media, as far as I remember. So Mr. Jad, specialist in leading conversations with inspiring people, is going to do it for us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We are happy and honored to welcome Mrs. Rola Sheikh, who is dealing with many crucial issues for the modern world and giving us not only one another perspective, but many different perspectives. She's a coach, but also she's dealing with projects related to energy transition and green energy, and also to grain safety, to weed supply, so all the crucial problems for our world nowadays, including the young leadership and young participation in these projects. So, a plethora of different things. Thank you very much. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Then we have Mr. Onzer Tabara, an Olympic swimmer, a member of the Italy's national team during Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, now training for the Paris Olympic Games 2024. So we wish you good luck with that. Keep our fingers crossed for you. And also the student of international trade. So,
thank you, sir.
Last but not least, Mr. Wasit Nabi, seasoned architect, lecturer in architecture, a specialist in conservation of historical monuments. I thought to learn some more about architecture and to give some more details about the works, but then I realized that if you wanted to found a place recording all your achievements, then we would have to buy an entire building and cover it with these achievements. So I failed in learning them by heart. I'm sorry for that. But we're really happy to have you here. Welcome, sir. So please, let the discussion start. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the title of our panel today, the panel discussion, is going to be Alternative Path, and I love this topic. I was very excited when I was given the opportunity to be a moderator here, and thank you so much for having me. So basically, yes, I am a medical student, a final year medical student at AUB, and I also decided to start a podcast and do some things on social media, try to make a better, a different, like provide different and good content on social media to the Lebanese youth, because we know that that's where a lot of their time is being spent. And so that's what I try to do with this podcast: bring in these people, these guests who are successful in their own fields, and try to through their stories, through asking them questions about how they got to where they got right now, try to inspire the viewers, the youth, the Lebanese youth, because we know the last couple of years were very hard. Everyone was, especially the youth, was really suffered because of everything that happened. Whether their parents lost their money in the bank, whether they have brothers and sisters who left the country, whether they have a family that they lost in the blast, so or during the pandemic, during COVID. So I felt like I wanted to provide something that could really help the youth, and that's why I started the podcast. And even though I have a really busy schedule with my medical school, they say that passion drives everything. And I think like the most common question I've always been asked is like, how do you have the time to manage? But the answer is really just, it's being driven by passion, and having the right discipline to do the work that should be done on a day-to-day basis. That's how I was able to get to where we are right now and where I am right now with the podcast. And I'm really happy to have these 3 speakers with me, each of them successful in their own field. The most I've had on a podcast was 2 people at the same time. This feels like a podcast with 3 people, so I'm excited for this to happen. And so yeah, before we get into the guests, I was sitting one time in the cafeteria at the hospital, and I was thinking, like, these questions that people always ask me started to get to me, like, how, like, why are you doing what you're doing? How do you have the time? And then I realized that it's the box, it's the fear of the box that society and people put you in. That, for example, you're a doctor, that's the only thing that you're supposed to do. Or you're whatever you are in any career. People try to put you in a box of, oh yeah, what's your name? What do you do in life? For them to create this box for you to try to understand how you are, who you are, and how you live. So it's the fear of just being stuck in this box that really drives my passions and wants me to really try to innovate and create and do things that are basically going on the alternative path. And we have definitely speakers here who have experienced this as well. So maybe we will start from the first speaker to my left, Mr. Rola Sheikh. Tell us a bit about your journey, how you got to where you got right now, and where maybe you experienced a place where you could have taken a conventional path and you decided to take an alternative one.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the audience, for the students, and thank you to a different perspective for hosting us today. So, life is not always what we expect, right? Let me tell you what happened with me today. I'm crazy about health, and I have my healthy juice with me. Now, today I had a missing ingredient, but nevertheless, it didn't stop me from making my health juice, but it turned out to be a bit too thick. The juice wasn't there enough. And so as I was drinking right there, during panel 1, it's a bit green, so I had green stuff on my face, on my very white outfit, and on my hands, and for 2 seconds I'm like, oh no, I don't have the time to go home and change. I'm on the panel, I'm wearing white, what the hell am I gonna do? Now this is my friend, life. This is what life does to us. It sometimes is unexpected. It takes you on a path where you were not prepared, where you're all dressed in white and you suddenly have some green stuff on you. And this is what happened to me. Now, what I did was I had to be resourceful. So I jumped to the toilet, took my shirt off, washed it. Thank God the thing came off quickly, so I look clean and good in front of you. And life is full of unexpected routes. So why should we always be, and I loved your word, a box? Why should we always be in a box? You know, we live in a box. We wake up and we go to the box and take our fruit from that box. We go and work in a box. We drive in a box to go there.
Live in a box.
And what's healthy about that? Is that even fun? So sometimes it is, and we're not here to judge anyone, but we're just here to tell you that sometimes taking a different path is wonderful. And even though it wasn't easy, even though I was in my late 30s, even though I was in a job that I had dreamed of being in. I was a project manager with the UN, you know, great salary, great opportunities. I traveled a lot and a lot of benefits, and was this good post, you know, when you talk and you're proud. But life had me very much humbled, like it was today when I was filled with the green stuff. I was very much humbled because for 2 seconds I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to talk with green things all over me. It is what it is. And my journey is about, there was this gap here in my heart. This gap was called, I was not fulfilled with what I'm doing. The post was there, the money was there, but I was not happy. And I was telling myself, is that all there is to life? You wake up and you go to work and you do is that all? There was something missing here, and my journey is really a journey of questions and answers. So no, I was not fulfilled, and at the end of the day I was not very happy, and I was seeking, what is it that could make me happy? What is it that could take me on a path where I would feel better as a human being, not only as a human doing my job, doing the work, getting it done. There's got to be more to life than that. Mm-hmm. And so there's a quote that says, hi, everyone here. I don't know why you're sitting behind us, I'm sorry. There's a quote that says, when the student is ready, the master appears. So a master appeared in my life, and I started seeking everything that's unconventional to see if I will find myself there. And I did, and I started learning and learning and learning, and that's the first tip of the day. You are students, one day you will work, but the learning never stops. The learning never stops. I learn each and every day of my life. You have this, and the tissue, but you have this mainly, and you can learn a million things from it other than scrolling. So I started learning, and life started taking me on a different path, and I enjoyed it so much. And I've suddenly found that fulfillment that I was looking for, that gap that was here, was starting to fill, and I started to feel warmer about it. I started to actually enjoy what I'm doing. And everybody told me I'm crazy. You work with the UN, you have a great job. Why do you want to go coach or train or whatever? I mean, was I afraid? Yes. Were times uncertain? Yes. But it's okay. Life doesn't have to be a straight line. I have a medical doctor with me here. What's a straight line on that machine?
For the EKG, yeah. When it starts, it stops.
That's death, isn't it? So life doesn't have to be a straight line, because when that's the interpretation of your heartbeat, that means you're dead, right? So there's ups and there's downs, and there's ups and there's downs, and that's beautiful. You're a different person, and you evolve with time, and things change, and life change, and throws things at you that you were not ready for, that you didn't learn, that you were never thought would do, that you wouldn't expect, and that's okay. You don't have to do the same thing for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I started learning what I loved, to do it professionally, because I didn't just want to do it because, you know, it was cool or it was the thing or it only gave me fulfillment. I took thousands of courses. Well, not thousands, that may be realistic here. Tens of courses, and I loved it. And slowly but surely I started shifting my path, and I'm now very happy with what I'm doing. And will I change in a few years? Maybe. If this stopped giving me fulfillment, why not? Why do you have to be in a box for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry if I took longer than I should, but this is in short my story. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dreaming. And if you have any questions in the end, I'll be ready to answer.
Rilla, just a final question before we move on. Yes, you did take this decision to move and take an alternative path at maybe a later stage in your life and your career. But was there a point when you were younger where you had to, where maybe you didn't have a passion, or maybe you had to choose to do the thing that you were going to do instead of what you love? Because from a very young age, since you're in school, you have this decision: which major am I going to choose? What am I going to do in my career? And there's always this question: what do I love, and what should I do? What does society tell me to do? So did you have to take a decision before, and you did not choose doing what you loved?
Wow, thank you for asking that. You must have been in my family somehow. My father, may he rest in peace, was a businessman, a very successful one that started from scratch. And he wished that we all study business and work with him in this city of Tripoli, which I love dearly. And if that was not the case, it was very common for, if you were good in biology, which I was good in biology and I loved it, you go to med school or you study biology and you take that path somehow. So I was, I think, a rebellion since I was young, because I did not work in business. I don't know business. It's not in my genes yet. And I did not want to do biology. That's what my sister studied. So I went to study environmental health. And my father was like, what are you going to sell? You know, because his mind was very business oriented. And it wasn't very common back in the days. But at that point, it was really what I loved. And in spite of people's, you know, thinking that it's not very fancy, as, I don't know, as, you know, the things that they thought they were, I followed my heart and I studied what I liked. And for a long while, I worked with that. And that was awesome until it wasn't.
Amazing, thank you so much. Munzer, thank you for being here, first of all. I mean, everyone, like a lot of the kids grow up to want to become an athlete. Personally, I used to play tennis professionally until I broke my wrist, and then I was like, okay, the education path is for me. And we see many people even not put in the work ethic and maybe fail at a certain stage because they get lost into what their friends want to do. They don't want to put the sacrifices. They start maybe getting into smoking and drinking at a very young age instead of sacrificing what they need to do in order to become an athlete. So yeah, how was this journey for you? Did you start in Lebanon swimming, and how did you get to becoming an Olympic athlete?
Thank you, Jad. First of all, I would like to say I could not agree more with everything that Misrullah just said. I mean, that was, I don't know how to go after that. That was amazing. But so I was born in, I mean, to summarize my story, I was born in the US. I have half Lebanese, half American heritage. And I started swimming only because I was so bad at every other sport, it was embarrassing to watch. Basketball, scored on myself. Basketball, scored on the wrong goal. Soccer, scored on the wrong goal. Baseball, couldn't even hit the ball. Nothing. What a darbe. And so I did swimming, and ironically, it wasn't the cool sport. All my friends played soccer when I lived in Dubai. I moved to Dubai when I was around 6, and all my friends were playing soccer, so I was trying all the sports. And the last one was swimming. My dad was like, please, just try it. And I got in the water, I trained for like, I think 5 days. I just naturally had a feel for the water. And we had like a small race at the school that I was at, EIS Meadows. And there's this underground pool that's super dark and you can't see anything. And I remember my dad telling me one thing. He said, I want you to get out of the pool and I want you to be clapping for them when they come. Like, that's how fast I want you to swim. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I go in the race, finish, I get out, and I have my towel around me because he's waiting for me, and I'm clapping for them, I'm watching them, and there's this kid that I beat that he trains for years, and he's crying. And I was like, this is awesome. I was like, I want to do this again. And so that's where my journey in swimming started. And when I moved back to the US, I was getting my head handed to me by a bunch of little girls. And I was like, this can't happen. I need to. And so I worked my way up. And when I was 14, I had a chance to represent the US or Lebanon in the Junior World Championships. It was either one or the other. And so I chose Lebanon. And I never looked back. I knew from a young age I had the advantage of training in the US and living in the US, and my summers were all spent here in Lebanon. It was my favorite thing. I would come race in Lebanon. We would have vacations here. And when I was 16, I really had a chance. I knew I had a chance to go to the Olympics. And it was one of the coolest feelings ever. Qualifying and having the flag around my neck. And it was just, it's something that you can't put into words. It's a feeling that it brings me to tears just to talk about, because I remember I had my dad there, and I wish my mother and sister could have been there, because my sister motivates me every single day. My sister is also Lebanese national record holder on the Lebanese national junior team, hopefully going to Paris 2024 with me. And it's so fun to have a family of now swimmers, I guess, but just representing Lebanon on an international scale is unlike anything ever. Everybody tells you, oh, it's amazing, and you got to be there to live it. And now I understand what that means. Last year, unfortunately, I had a back injury that caused me to be out of the water for 7 months, and I've never taken more than 5 to 8 days out of the water. 8 days is like the max, and it was so difficult for me, because I was kind of thinking, like what she said, like, why am I doing this? Am I going to swim again? Am I going to do this? Like, all these thoughts, you have 7 months to sit down at home, do nothing, and think about it. And I remember when I qualified for the Olympics, I went from 1,500 followers on Instagram to 11,000 in about 3 days. And it was the most I've ever gotten. And the messages that I got, like, I was bawling, crying at some of the messages. And that was one of the biggest things that motivated me to swim again. It was the love of the Lebanese people and the love of the youth. It was, I mean, it's a driving factor to do this. And so I decided that I'm gonna lose 25 pounds, because I gained 25 pounds for stress eating, and then and go and start swimming again. And thank God I went to the World Championships, and I was right on my best time. I broke the Lebanese national record, and usually for events like those, it doesn't happen like that. And you really have to search for your why. You have to search for, why am I doing this? What is the point? I love what she said. She said, what is the point of this? Why are we locking yourselves in boxes? And then you have the people telling you, oh, he's not going to be the same swimmer. Doctor said he's not going to be the same swimmer and stuff. So there are a lot of negative factors. And I think the number one takeaway that I have is, to hell with all the people that say it's not possible. Because when you have a good support system, you have a good family, you have the right people you surround yourself with, nothing is impossible.
Thanks so much.
And most importantly, God, because without God, nothing would happen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Munzer. That was amazing, honestly. Before we move on to Mr. Wasim, I just have a small question. You really touched on the subject of really going out and swimming for the flag, for the country, but I'm pretty sure you've already competed for your own name.